Taiwan reported intercepting several Chinese fighter jets on Tuesday, the same day a U.S. military transport plane overflew the island, according to the Taiwan Ministry of National Defense. Chinese fighters briefly entered Taiwan's southwest airspace and were intercepted that morning, a ministry statement said Tuesday. The ministry said its aircraft had broadcast warnings to the Su-30 flankers within the Taiwan Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ. The Focus Taiwan news website said the ministry issued that statement at 12:30 p.m. The same day, a US C-48 Clipper transport plane, a military variant of the Boeing 737-700C commercial airliner, flew over the island with permission and without landing, according to a separate ministry statement. Taiwan media citing online flight trackers reported the U.S. flight originated in Okinawa at 8:53 a.m. It's not clear if the US and Chinese military flights were linked. The Air Force's 18th Wing at Kadena Air Base, Okinawa, did not immediately reply to an emailed request for further information on Thursday. Boeing builds Clippers for the US Navy, according to the company website. GOLF9, a Twitter user who tracks military flights in the Western Pacific, tweeted at 10:15 a.m. Tuesday that the southbound Clipper had skirted Taiwan's western coast. Taiwan News wrote Tuesday that U.S. military jets rarely fly over Taiwan's airspace, preferring instead to fly in international waters around the island. The ministry's statement did not identify the type or number of its own aircraft involved. Our aerial reconnaissance and patrol aircraft took full control of the aircraft and actively drove them away from the response area, the statement said. An ADIZ is a defined area extending beyond national territory where unidentified aircraft may be intercepted before they cross into sovereign airspace. Taiwan's Ministry of Defense announced that the aerial altercation had occurred to the southwest of the island on June 9, 2020. The ministry's statement said that unspecified Taiwanese Air Force fighter jets had intercepted the Chinese flankers and issued verbal warnings for them to leave the area before more forcefully driving them out of the area. Following an increase in Chinese military flights around the island in recent years, Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen, who won a second term in a landslide in January, has previously said that Taiwanese jets would conduct a forceful expulsion of any Chinese combat aircraft that crossed the so-called median line in the Taiwan Strait. The median line is the de facto boundary between the island and the People's Republic of China on the mainland, the latter of which sees Taiwan as an integral part of its national territory. The Chinese People's Liberation Army has been conducting major exercises in the South China Sea to the southeast of Taiwan, including with its new aircraft carrier, the Shandong, which many experts and observers have taken to be a signal aimed at Taiwanese authorities. Beijing routinely threatens to use military force if the government in Taipei moves to formally declare independence. Notably, the PLA's largest land training facility at Jura, which you can read about in this recent war zone feature, has a highly accurate mock-up of Taiwan's President Office building, as well as one representing the Taiwanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs building and other full-scale urban structures. The rhetoric between Beijing and Taipei had ratcheted up substantially after Tsai's election victory and has grown even more heated following her inauguration, in which she said that the island would move to further distance itself politically from the mainland. In addition to widespread domestic support for her government, the Taiwanese president has also enjoyed a particularly strong and close relationship with U.S. President Donald Trump's administration. Taipei has secured unprecedented arms deals in the past year or so, including getting approval to purchase new, advanced Block 70 variants of the F-16CD Viper fighter jet, something that the government in Beijing has said would be a red-line issue in the past. The United States technically recognizes the People's Republic of China as the only legitimate government in China, but has reserved the right to continue to engage with Taiwan and help provide for its defense until its final status is officially resolved. As such, as friction between Beijing and Taipei has increased, the U.S. military has stepped up so-called Freedom of Navigation patrols, FONAP, through the Taiwan Strait, sending both ships and planes through the area as a demonstration of the United States' ongoing commitment to Taiwan. The C-48 flight, which took place on June 9 before the incident between Taiwanese and Chinese fighter jets, appears to be another example of that. However, while the median line in the Taiwan Strait and the airspace above it is technically a neutral international space, the Clipper's route took it through actual Taiwanese airspace, where U.S. military aircraft generally don't venture. Plane spotters using online flight tracking software first noticed the C-48 appearing to leave Kadena Air Base on the Japanese island of Okinawa and then head southwest toward Taiwan. The aircraft, which is the bureau number serial number 169036 and is assigned to the Navy Reserve's Fleet Logistics Support Squadron 61, VR-61, based at Naval Air Station Whidbey Island in Washington state, then passed near Taipei on Taiwan's northern tip before heading south along the coast. Flight tracking data shows the aircraft then continued south into the South China Sea and then eventually made its way to U Tapao Airport in Thailand. After leaving there, it appeared to flight toward the strategic island of Guam in the South Pacific. The flight over Taiwan proper is a much more pointed demonstration of the de facto independence of the island and its ability to set its own rules about the use of its airspace than more traditional FONOPs. The Taiwan Times newspaper reported that Shi Shunwen, a spokesperson for Taiwan's Ministry of Defense, said in a statement that the nation's military has full control over the airspace over Taiwan and that the current situation is normal, but declined to confirm or deny the C-40A had flown over the western coast. Taiwan's China Times newspaper also reported that the Clipper had made an emergency landing at Qingchu Wankang Air Base in the city of Taichung, but there is no evidence that this was the case. It's worth noting that the C-40A's flight comes after weeks of other unprecedented aerial activity in the Pacific region. This has included a number of long-range sorties by U.S. Air Force B-1B bombers, many of which are clearly meant to send a message to China as well. The chill in relations between authorities in Taipei and their counterparts in Beijing does not look set to end anytime soon. Relations between the two parties had already seen additional strains this year over the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic and the Chinese government's efforts to force Taiwanese authorities out of international response efforts, as well as the months-long crackdown on protests in Hong Kong over the mainland's efforts to curtail that semi-autonomous region's unique freedoms. Tsai Ing-wen's government says it will look for ways to help Hong Kongers in response to the Chinese Communist Party proceeding with implementing a new draconian national security law covering the latter region. With the parties on both sides of the Taiwan Strait, as well as the United States, digging in their heels, at least rhetorically, it seems more likely than not that we will continue to see more assertive signaling, including aggressive aerial encounters and FONOPs, in the near future.